Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. My Joe, man, it's a beautiful sunny day here in West Texas. But woo, that West Texas wind is kicking our butts doing these videos, isn't it?
I know. It's just up and down, up and down. One video is blowing like heck. Next it kind of dies down and you think you're passing, and here it comes again. So, well, that's West Texas for you.
Yeah, we're surviving. We're persevering, though. Like this Texas Tech football team, man, after that big loss in Norman, that really tough loss, huge upset against Oklahoma State. Now another big test against Baylor coming up, 3 p.m. Saturday in Waco. We have some great questions from y'all. We're going to jump into them. All right. The first one comes from Sig Hansen, who wants to know, does Jet keep the starting job when Bowman gets cleared? Just how good can Jet be in Yost's offense? This is one of the questions, really, about the program.
Yeah, I'm not by any means convinced that we're going to see Bowman again this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no medical expert or anything like that, but I mean, last we've seen of him, he's in a sling, and so even if he gets all healed up and knitted up the way he's supposed to be, you got to knock off the rust. And, is he really, even if he does do that, I mean, is he going to give you a better shot to win than Jet if he's been rolling and playing all this time and he's kind of getting into the groove? Of course, now what all that depends upon is what he does Jet does between now and then.
Sure.
He had one heck of a game against Oklahoma State, but you're only as good as your last game.
That's right.
Pretty much, so he's got to put it all together. But I mean, I lean toward the idea that it's probably Jet for the rest of the year, most likely.
Yeah, I think when Wells said that, like, Jet's our guy, I know he was talking some about Jackson Tyner, but he was also saying, like, okay, we're all in on with Jet. And then recently, in his presser this week, he said Bowman's still going to be out for a while in an update. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that they're going to bench Jet after the performance he just had. Let's see how he does in Waco, though, right? All right. Next question comes from Texan, who wants to know, could we all have just witnessed the breakout game of the Wells era with the victory over Oklahoma State? I want to be careful here because I'm really excited, Joe, about that. I mean, the way they responded and the way they did it, I mean, they schemed it up well. The team was ready to play. They were aggressive. Those are all tremendous signs. We're seeing great signs on the recruiting trail as well, but that's just one game. I mean, Tech whipped Oklahoma State last year in Stillwater, and the whole staff got fired. So
Right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, is it possible that was a breakout game? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
hope so.
3 years from now, we could look back at it and say, yeah, that was the turning point right there. Yeah. If so, that would be spectacular, because it's come pretty dang early, right? We just got to see how it plays out a little bit here. You had one. Look, bottom line is Tech has played one good game this year.
Yeah.
They were just kind of so-so in those first two games, and then not good at all against Arizona, and then terrible against Oklahoma. And then they come out with a great game against Oklahoma State, but it's just one game. So, I mean, you can't just on the basis of that and then ignore those first four games. That's just not, we would like to be able to do that, but that's not the prudent thing to do.
OBX Raider wants to know, what is the status of the injuries to the DBs? Outside of Smith, will the others be back for Baylor? He notes Fry and Leggett concussion protocol. Yeah, I actually saw Adrian Fry and Thomas Leggett earlier in the week up at the facility when I was up there, and they looked fine. They were walking around fine, but with concussions, man, those are tricky. I've heard that Fry probably will be back. Leggett, we're going to have to see. I think he had a real injury. Yeah, not that Adrian didn't, but I'm just saying, he got, that was a tough one for Thomas. It really frustrates me because we were even noting in the press box how much better he's playing. I mean, he was playing very well for the Red Raiders. And that extra weight, as you mentioned, really has been paying off for him. And yeah, Des Smith, I mean, he's on crutches in a boot. Don't expect him back anytime soon. So that's really the update on those three. I really think Adrian Fry will be back against Baylor, but now it's concussion, so that's just what I heard. Thomas, I would say doubtful, and then Des is out.
Yeah, that's
move on.
Hey, I tell you, with Leggett, you got his head in there, and he got hit the thigh by that big old Hubbard. Yeah. That hurt me looking at it. It's if he could come back from that and he's in good shape, ready to go for Baylor, that would be fantastic. But like you, I'd say doubtful is probably right.
Other than the Jet Bowman question that Sig Hansen asked in the first one, I think this is really the other real question here is, which Tech team is the real one? The one that played OU or the one that played Oklahoma State? Or is it something in between? You know, against Oklahoma, you know, I was obviously very disappointed and upset with the showing. I expected Oklahoma to beat them, but I was disappointed with the way Tech played and the way they weren't prepared. The opposite against Oklahoma State. What is the real Tech? I think that's a legitimate question, and we don't. I think this is not what you probably want, but we don't know. I think we're going to start getting some answers here. I think against Baylor and Iowa State, who I think are really close to being on par with Tech in terms of overall talent. You know, some differences. They have, you know, different teams have different strengths and all that, so the matchups are different. But you have a chance on the road on Baylor, at Baylor, to show that you can play, win on the road, and then you have a chance to defend the Jones again against Iowa State on homecoming. And I think those two games will go a long way towards telling us just what kind of season they're probably going to have down the stretch in November, Joe.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you want to know, is it Oklahoma, is it Oklahoma State, which one is Tech? I think it's both.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you are what's on your record.
Right.
You know, you can't just erase things or pick and choose. It's part of what you are. And I think probably moving forward, we're probably going to see ups and downs with this team. You know, I mean, this is still a program that's in flux because you got a new coaching staff. You know, they're doing things differently. Yeah. You got some different players, some guys gone. You're still figuring things out, you know. And so, and the staff is learning more and more about the personnel all the time and vice versa. So, you know, I think that's part of the reason you're getting these ups and downs. And I think that's probably going to continue for most of the year. Now, as far as these next two games go, it's going to be tough because, I mean, look, I think the problem is that Baylor and Iowa State are both improving. Yeah. They're playing better now. Yeah. You know, yeah. Iowa State looked, frankly, pretty doggone lousy to start the season, but now they're getting it together. And Baylor, I mean, they had a kind of a weak showing against Rice. Now they strung together a couple of pretty good games. So, I mean, you're not only getting a couple of pretty good teams, you're getting them when they're cresting a little bit is what it looks like. So it's going to be quite a challenge. You know, I mean, I think if Tech could split these two games,
yes,
you take that. You know, you feel pretty good about it.
If Tech split these games, they'd be a game ahead of like what I thought going in. I thought they'd win 6 games this year. So, I mean, I thought they'd beat Arizona, but I didn't have them beating Oklahoma State. And I had them losing both at Baylor and Iowa State. Now, after the performance last week, before that, you were looking at who could they beat. You may not have another win on the schedule. Now you're like, hey, maybe you could beat everyone. If you could beat Oklahoma State, you could probably beat the remaining teams on your schedule. So it's crazy how college football is, man. All right, Tech Freak asks, who is more battle tested this season, Tech or Baylor? Does that change who you think will win? Well, I mean, 2 weeks ago I would have obviously said Tech, but you know, Baylor has played Iowa State at home. They have played Kansas State there, and they won both games. Now, Tech, I mean, their first 2 games were as weak as it gets, really. Arizona, are they good? They're okay. If it was there, so that's tough. But then you played Oklahoma and Oklahoma State back-to-back. So, honestly, to still have a winning record through that, I mean, I'd say Tech is probably more battle-tested, but less now after seeing Baylor go in and handle Kansas State there than I would have said a week ago.
Yeah. You know, I think that both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are better than anybody as Baylor played. That's true. Probably. Yeah. I think Arizona, I'll probably put them on the same par with Kansas State. Not as good as Iowa State. I think overall Tech is more battle-tested, but I don't think the disparity is so great that it really is going to make too much difference as to who I think is going to win or which team is actually better. You know, so it's just gonna be you know, which team is the better team out there and which team goes out there and executes and plays. You know, that's what it usually comes down to. So should be a good matchup and a good game though.
Yeah, another thing to note too is this Baylor team is a veteran team. I think they have 8 seniors on defense. Coach Wells was saying the other day. I mean, so they're battle tested anyways.
Yes, that's right.
All right, the final question comes from Ryan TB123. He says, with all the hype around Jordan Brooks currently, do we believe he could be the next Red Raider taken in the first round? Oh man, he is jumping up the draft board, but first round, I don't see that. I think he could be top 3 rounds. I really do. If he keeps up his game, he's got the speed, he's big, he's got the tape to show what he can do. If he has a good pro day, I assume he'll go to the combine. If he has a good day at the combine, yeah, I definitely could see him in the top 3 rounds. I don't think he's a first-round guy, but hey, you know, I don't want to put too much of a ceiling on him. First round, I mean, you're talking about really, really elite. And Jordan's on the cusp of that. But I just don't know if somebody's ready to draft a Texas Tech defender in the first round, to be honest.
Yeah, you know, and you know how the NFL guys are about the specs, right? You know, it's all about the measurables and all that stuff. And the thing about Brooks is he's not a real tall guy. I mean, look, what kept Zach Thomas all the way down in the 5th round was he was short. Now Brooks is taller than Zach Thomas, and he's, I think, faster than Zach Thomas. But still, you know, I think probably the best case scenario for him would maybe late 2nd round is what I would look at. And I think that's possible.
Absolutely. All right, Mighty Joe, great stuff from you as always. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.